Merry Christmas!
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Feliks, that's Wolf, and that's Bob18. We hope you're having a wonderful Christmas in spite of the less than stellar year that's been 2020. Christmas is a time of celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, but who cares about all that when you have the hottest new video games and systems you can't even flipping buy without paying thousands for them. Thanks, scalpers! Yes, we did. Anyway, despite that hyper-commercialization and secularization of the holiday, it isn't necessarily wrong to be excited about these aforementioned video games and systems. We had two console launches with the Xbox Series X/Series S and the PS5. It doesn't feel like that because of the more muted launch of both due to what is currently happening right now, but it's nonetheless here and there's a lot of cool titles to experience. One of them is Yakuza Like a Dragon, and since it's a SEGA title and we have a habit of covering those, why don't we do a review and analysis video?
What about Cyberpunk 2077?
Sweetheart, what did I say about making random appearances?
Well, I'm doing what y'all call incognito mode.
Hun, that's the name of a mode in an internet browser. I think you meant being sneaky.
Well, I don't want them cookies after me.
Oh, everyone, this is Belle, our newest member who is our store's manager.
And his girlfriend.
She'll be helping out with research and communications from here on out in our videos. With that out of the way, Belle, what were you asking about before?
I said, what about Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, we did. That means we're dealing with a time displacement scenario.
The CIA is after us!
No, it's basically a scenario where the words out of our mouths were written in November 2020, and since we had to delay this video due to reviewing Cyberpunk 2077, this episode isn't coming out until July 2021. Simple. Pretend that the issue isn't here, and hope that reality snaps back into place.
That's what the CIA wants you to think.
Master Control, just start the episode.
The I-Corporation Brain Unit activated, searching for channels.
I've played a lot of different games in my life, some of them good and some of them being Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, although I don't want to beat a fellow horse to death with this, that little excursion towards Night City was disappointing and my opinions about the title have only worsened since its release. I think it was even more disappointing because Yakuza Like a Dragon, which came out a month beforehand, was similar in a lot of ways. Both are open world experiences with main quests, side quests, and side activities. And Yakuza Like a Dragon ended up delivering and executing on those things better than 2077 did. But this is not a comparison to Cyberpunk 2077. I want to review and analyze Yakuza Like a Dragon on its own merits. And folks, Yakuza Like a Dragon is fantastic, worth your attention, and is probably one of the best titles to come out of SEGA since the Dreamcast. But first, it only feels natural that I talk about the history of Yakuza, which is an interesting series in the context of SEGA. Back in the early 2000s, SEGA was struggling to find its own identity after discontinuing its console business. Sure, it had some excellent compilations and some even more excellent sequels to their older library, but nothing really new that was successful. Coupled with the financial status of the company, it didn't seem like SEGA could survive much longer as a software developer. But in 2004, it merged with pachinko manufacturer Sammy. And it was through that event that Yakuza was allowed to happen. It had been rejected twice beforehand. Thus, Yakuza was released in Japan in 2005 as Ria Gogotu, or Like a Dragon, with the rest of the world receiving it as Yakuza in 2006. It was successful, and later was followed by several sequels, spin-offs, a movie. It basically became the Sakura Wars for SEGA. But its international appeal continued to be minimal until the release of Yakuza 0, which I would say is the encapsulation of everything excellent about this series. Storytelling that balances serious and fun, combat that is engaging, and a breadth of side activities to screw around with. However, with the conclusion of the original story with Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, the following year, there would be no doubt there'd be another entry into the series. But no one, and I mean no one, could have expected this. It's difficult for us to know where to begin with this, as there's just so much to talk about.
Well, luckily for you, I thought of something ahead of time.
Oh?
Yeah, I ordered one of those strategy guidebooks from Japan. It should be here any minute now.
Package for Belle.
Yes, this is she.
What was that?
It's Data Abachi. They're native here in Japan.
Lots of monsters and legends do. That's why the CIA covers it up.
Belle? How are we supposed to read this? It's large, in Japanese, and also the PS4 version when we're playing it on the Xbox One X.
Sorry, I almost forgot the other part of your order.
Alright, how are we supposed to review this title and strategy guide when they are both massive?
Ooh, I have an idea.
Huh, that's a convenient and gross way to wrap that up. Well, let's start this thing. Yakuza Like a Dragon centers around Ichiban Kasuga, a new protagonist in the franchise very different from Kazuma Kiryu. He's optimistic, brash, and wants to be a hero. The latter of which is fueled by his love of Dragon Quest. He ends up as a low-level but good-natured Yakuza who is later tasked by his mentor Masumi Arakawa to take the fall for a murder he didn't commit. And when finally released from his sentence, he finds the world around him has changed and new mysteries are abound. The storyline feels like it's the usual combination of serious and ludicrous, but whether it's the other entries in the series were about redemption from a life of crime, Yakuza Like a Dragon is more of a traditional hero storyline, with an adventure full of twists and turns with the changed man out of it all. It makes sense with the aforementioned heroism fueled by RPGs, as those titles are usually traditional hero stories. It doesn't make the title any lesser, in fact it works heavily in its favor by having a new type of story and using it to tell a fantastic story. It never felt boring or rushed. There was always something keeping my attention and wanting me to play more. It also never felt like they would include a story thread for no reason. Every character and every event mattered, even the ones you don't think at first do. And man, the twists and turns in this title are well executed and earned. It does take the time to introduce you to these characters and their world, but once it does that, it increases the insanity and stakes by 11. For instance, finding out that the dude you were chaperoning when you were younger is now the governor of Tokyo, with plans to become prime minister and basically becoming the big bad of Yakuza 7. But it never feels like RGG are doing these moments only because they can or should. These are well-earned treats for following the already well-written storyline they have crafted. Combined, it makes Yakuza Like a Dragon such an exhilarating title to experience, and besides some unfortunate spoilers involving the reappearance of several earlier protagonists, I blame you, marketing materials, good gosh, I had no idea where the story was going to go. And to me, that's the best kind of title there is. Following a story that is well written and you really don't know what direction it's going to head in. But I think that the cherry on top is that Yakuza Like a Dragon also has a lot to say. It's a triple commentary. One of the best aspects about this title is how it celebrates those who are less fortunate without being pandering. Yakuza Like a Dragon is very much a story of different heroes who are not your average heroes. Some, like Ichiban Kasuga and Kim Yun-so, are those with criminal backgrounds, or in the case of the latter, the head of a criminal organization. Some are not criminals, but down on their luck, like Koichi Adachi, a detective unable to bring justice due to corruption in the police force. The men and women that team out with Ichiban Kasuga are all considered low-class citizens, the equivalent of dirt or trash. But it's because of this fact that their rise to being heroes is all the more rewarding. It's not the newest title to do this trope, but it works in the larger and second commentary Yakuza Like a Dragon, love and empathy towards everyone. Ichiban Kasuga, who constantly shows love and empathy to those not only around him, but those who are considered his enemies as well. True, it doesn't mean that his temper won't get the better of him at times, and he does have to learn to control it, but from the main story, various side stories, and even the Rent-A-Hero that I'll be talking about in a little bit leans towards that aspect. It makes the traditional hero story of Yakuza Like a Dragon so enjoyable because of this. Ichiban Kasuga, simply put, is an enduring protagonist. He's such a dork but a kind-hearted and lovable one, and strives to do the right thing. We as the audience relate to that, making his journey and the adventures that he goes through much more enjoyable. Finally, there's the commentary on Japan in 2019-2020. This is one of the few titles that I've encountered that handles sensitive issues like illegal immigration, prostitution, the decline of the Yakuza that's been occurring since 2010-2011, and much more with a sense of class and respect. It doesn't try to beat you over the head with it, like so many titles that handle these sorts of things, but rather is a natural extension of the story it's trying to tell. This is not easy to include those elements and still make a fun game, but somehow Yakuza Like a Dragon pulled it off. I think it has to do with the fact that it doesn't try to talk down to the player, but instead showing these issues for what they really are, even if it is a fictional setting and characters. So that's the cherry on top to the story of Yakuza Like a Dragon. But the story is only as good as its characters, and oh boy, this game has a really colorful and amazing cast of characters. Seriously, I think the characters in Yakuza Like a Dragon are absolutely excellent and well written, just like the rest of the title. That includes main characters, side characters, and even returning characters like Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima. They all have unique personalities and motives that contribute heavily to the main storyline and the various side stories that you can complete. I feel like character writing has always been something that RGG has excelled at, and it's no different here. It's the main reason why the story is as good as it is. Without it, I don't think those aforementioned moments nor the hero's story would work. It also helps that this game is brimming with fun and interesting dialogue from the main cast, with these little side conversations that can happen while you're exploring Jinsho, or one-on-one conversations you can have in the Survive bar. It makes the story that much better and makes you really attach to these characters and care about them. And for the record, I love all the main characters that can join your party. Every one of them has different personalities, interests, and motivations. Alright, so with that all out of the way, let's talk about the next aspect of what makes Yakuza Like a Dragon such a masterpiece. The gameplay. I'm going to be honest, if you would have asked me a couple years ago that the next Yakuza was going to be a full-fledged RPG, I would have laughed and thought you were insane. But no, this is an RPG with all the hallmarks of it. Attacking, defending, magic, experience, debuffs, buffs, all of it. Here's the thing though, and I speak for a lot of folks, I don't like JRPGs. I just feel like they're too full of random encounters and a slog to play through. Even titles that I cite as inspiration, like Earthbound. RGG thankfully made several changes and things like that to make sure that people were having fun. First, there are certain real-time action segments similar to other Yakuza titles that either increases strength of an attack or decreases the amount of damage taken, with button pressing emphasized. It keeps players on their toes and makes combat encounters not just a bunch of menus and then animations to cycle through. You also have some fun magic-based abilities that depend on the character and what job at Hello Work they have taken. Some of them are standouts, like Essence of Glowstick, where a bunch of fans attack enemies. It was a favorite of everyone here at the store.
I like people getting hit with them glow sticks.
Yeah, Belle, we very much know that and the months of conversations that followed about you wanting to get a glow stick weapon. You also have some other things when you're combating enemies, such as the item system and pound mates. I really like saying that word, pound mates. Anyway, Poundmates is a system where you can call allies for a fee, and they basically help you in combat, either helping your party in some way or attacking enemies. I freaking love this system, and my favorite is Goro Mujima, because honestly, who doesn't want to see him do a Naruto run and throw a bunch of knives at folks? And if all else fails, there's an auto battle system that does the combat for you, with different modes depending on what you want. Basically, RGG proofed this thing to make sure it was fun and something I want to see further expanded in future entries. I do have some complaints about the combat though, which has to do with the difficulty spike towards the end and the job system. On the earlier, there were encounters with Kazuma Kiryu and the final boss of Yakuza Like a Dragon, whatever his name is. These had insane difficulty spikes, which admittedly the earlier one might have been just because I wasn't high enough in terms of my level, but the last one was just completely unfair, with the final boss having a special move called God's Hand that could instantly kill a party member. This was an issue because if Ichiban dies during a fight, it's game over. After several attempts at this final boss, I realized that I needed to block against his attacks. To my knowledge, it did not really communicate this well to the player. I also have to complain about the whole job system in Yakuza Like a Dragon, as while it is a fun way to change character abilities and appearances, I did find myself changing into different jobs because it was extremely detrimental to switch to another one in terms of stats. In the future, I'd love it for it to be a little more open to changing different jobs without that negative effect. Anyway, there's one more big loose end to wrap up, and that's the side activities. I'm gonna be honest, this section is one I was dreading the most when writing this video. That's because there are just so many side activities that I can't reasonably go over every one of them. What you need to know is that these side activities are well worth your time, and I highly recommend doing them if you have the chance. In fact, the game even encourages you to do so during the main story, so there's no excuse. So based on everything that I said and the start of this video, yeah, Yakuza Like a Dragon is a masterpiece, and you really should go play it. Also, it's now on Xbox Game Pass, making it more accessible than ever, along with the rest of the Yakuza series, so please, I encourage you to go check out either Like a Dragon or this entire series. I thought that Like a Dragon had gameplay that was new and exciting, with an excellent story and characters adding to it, and the side stuff had so much to do when it comes to this title that you could just be spending hours doing that. It's difficult for me to cover everything in this game from a review standpoint, but just play this title and thank us later. Well, it looks like that ignoring the problem just made the problem all the more worse. Any ideas?
How about we all just sing Bakamitai?
That's a terrible idea. Absolutely not. That means people have to hear me sing. Anyway, we all hope you enjoyed this episode of Feliks and Wolf's Cyberpunk Adventures, and we'll hopefully see you all later, if we make it from reality collapsing in on itself.